All right. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to Save the Date, your dating survival guide from Coffee Meets Bagel. I'm Down, your host and CMB's Chief Dating Officer. Each episode, I bring on a dating expert to explore what it takes to go on great dates and ultimately find a great relationship. For the first episode of 2021, I'm really excited to have a publicist turned dating and confidence coach, Alexis Germany, here with me. I first came across Alexis on Bustle's article called 14 TikTok Dating Coaches Who's Going to Save Your Love Life. I love that title. And in the article, Alexis gave to her 60,000 TikTok followers very specific and actionable tips on how to make the most out of their dating profiles. I certainly have been stuck not knowing what to write or what photos to pick on my own CMB profiles. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who's had that experience. So for the new year, for those of us who are giving another go on our dating life, I wanted to have Alexis here to give you all the tips that you need to set your CMB profile up for success. Thank you so much for joining me, Alexis.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay. So I have to ask you, you were a publicist. How did you become a dating coach?
I actually started doing public relations for several popular dating sites. And through some of our PR initiatives, we recognized a need for coaching. And I was always giving advice anyway. So they were like, why don't you get trained as a dating coach? And then we can kind of wrap this all up into one. And so even, it just kind of took off from there. And I love, love, love doing dating advice.
Oh my God, I love that. How long have you been practicing as a dating coach?
About 4 years now.
Awesome. So I'm sure this dating profiles, what do I write? How do I make the most out of dating profiles is a common topic that comes up among your clients. So I'm curious, when you look at your clients, what are the top 3 common mistakes when it comes to dating profiles?
Oh, geez, there are lots of mistakes, but I think the top 3 common ones are number 1, having a blank profile and trying to just rely on photos alone. Number 2, not using good quality photos or using, photos that just really don't make sense for the medium. And then number 3, not reviewing their profile and having lots of errors in it or writing way too much or being way too vague.
I'm curious when you have clients who come to you and they have those kind of cases where, okay, so they have photos, but it's blank or, a lot of mistakes. Like when you ask them why they do that, like, what do they say?
Some of them say, well, I don't know what to write. And then other people say, well, I've gotten matches with this profile, so it should be good enough. And I'm like, well, if it was good enough, you wouldn't be talking to me about it. So let's chat. But those are usually what they say.
Yeah, because sometimes, I come across CMB daters who mention like, oh, I'm so frustrated because I'm coming across profiles who are like blank and mistakes and whatnot. And we don't really understand why people don't put in the time to work on profile a little bit more, but I think a lot of times we're not able to think from like another person's perspective, like what impression it's going to actually leave to the viewer, whoever is going to actually view my profile about me if I represent myself this way. So I think that's a really important question that we can be asking ourselves when we review our own profile.
Absolutely. And one of the things I always tell my clients, I'm like, if you are very unsure about how you're representing yourself, and assuming you're someone who dates people of the opposite sex, ask a friend of the opposite sex to look at your profile and don't be hurt feelings when they tell you their honest opinion of it. So that's always a good tip to use.
Yeah, I love that. And I remember I was a very avid user of CMB myself. And now I'm in a relationship. And it was surprising to me, some of the photos that I pick for myself that I thought it was, I obviously am picking because I think I look good versus when I asked my guy friends, I'm straight female, the comments that they were making or some of the photos that they would pick as like photos that it was very different.
Yes, that can
Yeah.
definitely be the case. And it's always surprising. I'm like, you like that picture? Like, no.
Exactly. Okay. So then given those common mistakes, what are your top favorite 3 tips that you give out to your clients when it comes to dating profile?
So my top tip regarding photos is that you should have at least 5 photos on your website. So, or on your profile. So one should be a close-up headshot, preferably smiling with teeth. The second one should definitely be at least one full body shot, current full body shot, that is. And then the third one should definitely be something showing you doing something that's like a hobby of yours or a talent of yours, or at a cool location to invite conversation. And then the other two can kind of be repeat. So if you have another really great scenic shot, or a picture of you out in nature, something like that can be kind of your other two. But anybody should be able to see 5 photos of you. If they can see 5 photos of you, then once you move to texting, they should not be asking you, send me a pic. Like, no, you've seen 5 photos. If you don't like those 5 photos, you're not going to like me physically. So that's number 1. Number 2 is, after you write your profile, if you read it and it could describe you, your sister, your best friend, and your coworker, then it's not unique enough. And so it's time to, put in some flavor, figure out something about yourself that's more unique, to put in your profile. And then I think the third one is to remember that you're investing in your romantic life. So set aside some time to put into it and to really review it and make sure that you're putting your best face forward, because that's going to help you yield the best results.
I love that. And in terms of photo, we want to, of course, kind of represent various facets of ourselves. And I love that you mentioned that include photos that could be a good conversation starter. That's always helpful. Does the order of the photos matter?
I think the order of your photos definitely matters. My preference for your first photo is that headshot, kind of like how I'm looking right now, like this angle, a nice smile is great, something very inviting, and a clear, indication of like your face, because that's kind of that first thing that we're like, oh, cute smile or great eyes, or, whatever that makes us stop to look at the rest of the profile.
Right. Awesome. Speaking of photos, a lot of us, I think we know that photos is like one of the most important elements of our profiles, but we just don't have good photos. And I don't want to generalize, but I see this more commonly among male daters. They just don't seem to have any current photos that are good. And so for those of us who just don't have good photos, any tips on how we can get better photos?
Yeah, I definitely think, if you are comfortable enlisting a friend or a family member to take a few photos of you in, different locations, wearing different clothes. Some of these things are not as relevant because maybe you're not out at a restaurant right now. But if you're out at a restaurant and like you have a glass of wine, be like, hey, can you take a picture of me really quick? Men can be a little bit weird about that, but I'm like, you have no problem asking your bros to take videos of you in the gym. And we don't want to see that photo on your dating profile. So, you might have to swallow your pride a bit. But also we have these wonderful things. We have self-timers. We can prop our phones up, but we should not be relying on like mirror selfies or old pictures and saying, I look the same, because we all think we look the same. And it's not to say we look worse now, but it's just to say that we want to be using photos that are less than a year old. And we all have access to the technology to make sure that we can access that.
Yeah, I love that tip because, I understand some of us are shy and we don't want to ask other people, but you're right. Nowadays, like the quality of their cell phone camera is so great, and we all has a timing feature. So you could actually, position yourself and just kind of do everything on your own if you didn't want to ask anyone. That's a really great tip. And can you, for those of us who are like, what's wrong with selfie? Like, what's wrong with mirror selfie? Like, but what's wrong with like, my photo in the gym, I think I look good. Could you explain why that's not the best photo?
Yeah. So I think the problem with the mirror selfie and that kind of thing is typically people forget to look about what's behind them in the mirror, specifically if they're in the bathroom. Nobody wants to see your toilet, or if you're in your messy bedroom. None of that sends like a great first impression, right? Even if your room's not always messy, I'm now assuming your room's always messy, and that's not a characteristic I'm necessarily looking for. As far as the gym pictures, I honestly don't mind one if that's something that you're very into later down in the photo lineup. However, if all of your pictures are gym pictures, you're now sending the message to me that all you care about is working out. And maybe that makes me feel uncomfortable, right? And that's what I get from a lot of women, like, he looks like a gym rat and I'm not, but the guy actually wants them. Like, they don't care that they're not a gym rat, but it's just about those messaging. And we have to think about all the stories people are creating about us before the conversation ever starts.
Yeah, I love that. And just going back to like reviewing your profile to just see like what kind of impression are you leaving to whoever is coming across your profile. You're not there to explain, right? We're not actually there to explain.
Exactly.
And we're all human beings, of course. All of us, including myself, we do make snap judgment when it comes to profiles. There are a lot of profiles that we're sifting through, and so when you're quickly relatively quickly going through the profiles, like what impression is my profile giving? I think that's such an important question to ask yourself when you're done creating it, or even asking your friends, like we talked about. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So pictures are worth 1,000 words. And so in addition to all the wonderful tips that Alexis already gave, we thought it'd be really fun and very practical and useful for all of you daters out there if we have real life examples of real profiles that Alexis actually can coach us on. So we prepped some CMB daters, real CMB daters, who wanted to get coaching from Alexis, and we're going to present their profiles. And as Alexis gave us coaching, we're all going to learn together on how to improve on our own profiles. So for those of you who are listening to this on your podcast, we have visuals and profiles that we're going to be presenting. So it would be much more impactful if you are able to access the YouTube link that we have we're providing on the podcast, if you can. So this right now is the time, if you're on podcast, to so that you can actually follow along with the visuals. Okay, so real life examples of CMB data profiles. I wanted to show for those of you who are not familiar with Coffee Meets Bagel profiles, what the profile actually looks like. So this is example profiles of our social media manager. And so we have a few photos, few stats, and what we call prompt, like people actually write out some answers to some really, interesting questions, like what is your love language, a book everyone should read, to help you fill out, interesting facts about yourself so that you can actually get the conversation going more easily when you connect with somebody. So this is kind of the overview of Coffee Meets Bagel profile. So now we're going to get into real CMB daters who wanted to get coaching from Alexis. So the first up is Andrea. So Andrea has about 9 photos here on CMB profile. What do you think, Alexis?
I love that she shows so many different kinds of photos, but there are definitely some that I would recommend taking off. Just of my first impression. So, should I go through the ones?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So I love the first picture where she's in the car. I actually like that picture as her first headshot. I would prefer the smile, and the studies do say that the smile does lead to more matches. But if she's not, like, this is cute, it's a little close, but I think that that's okay. The second picture, I think, shows a very specific type of interest in lifestyle. With the hockey jersey and in the snow with no pants on. So I think that perhaps I would use that for way later, or maybe I would take that one off. Because I think it's a little bit interesting, and I think it could lead to like some different sorts of judgments.
I see.
The third photo, like,
and then one thing I want to add is that photo, actually, she has a sunglass on, so it's hard to see her face. So for that reason, also maybe it's better later down the line. Yeah.
And I was going to definitely mention that because I see that there's 2 with sunglasses and 1 in ski goggles, although the ski picture I love. So yes, definitely, if you're going to have sunglasses, you should only have 1 sunglass pick, and it should be, towards the end. And then the next photo, like this kind of open mouth, overly excited sort of look. I don't love that. I think that could invite some very interesting openers that I don't think she would appreciate. And we have to think about that, right? It's not, even if it's not what her intent, I'm sure, is to show like, I'm fun, I'm excited, I'm bubbly.
Yeah.
There could be some interesting opening messages with that one that I think I would consider not using. The next one where she's kind of looking off into the distance, but her forehead is mostly cut off. I would remove that. If she has another version of that where she's looking at the camera or it's further out and there's like a cool background or something like that, I would keep it. Let me see. Okay, the skiing picture I really like because that's showing like this is an interest. This is something that I do. A match could be like, hey, what pass are you skiing right now? What, like, do you like black diamonds or whatever? Have you been to Vail? I don't know. So I feel like those are a lot of great conversation starters, and that is a great picture to have. The next one, I think if I was going to choose a photo where you're in the snow wearing an interesting outfit with sunglasses, I would probably choose this one because then she's got the dog there and that could be something to discuss. And I would remove the hockey jersey one because the next photo shows her at some kind of hockey event. So that shows that that's an interest of hers. I'm not sure where her interest lies, but somebody could say, oh, I see you're at a hockey game or coaching a hockey game or something like that. And that would be a great conversation starter as well. The next picture with the smirk, I would remove that. I don't think that's I don't think it's showing really her. I don't think it's showing how truly beautiful she is. And I just think it's a little bit off-putting. And then the last photo is a group photo, which I almost never recommend. And I think you can clearly tell that that's her and then maybe like her mom and sister. So I'm okay with it if you can clearly tell it's you. And I think in this case, she was trying to show I dress up too. But I think perhaps if we had one by ourselves in our dress up clothes, that would be the one to go. And I would keep then that probably like if it was by herself dressed up like that, maybe a second or third photo would be a great choice for that one.
I see. If we don't have a dress up photo, she looks gorgeous in that photo. So if I don't have a dressed up photo of me alone, and this is like the only one I have, would you recommend still keeping it?
If that's the only one you have, because I can clearly tell which person she is, then I think it's fine. I think the problem comes if it was like her and two of her friends and they all kind of look alike, that's where things get a little muddy. But since you can clearly tell like that is Andrea, then I think that that's okay.
Yeah. And, some of the comments that you made about, okay, some of these photos could be inviting, I can see why she put it because it's like, it's like, I'm fun and whatnot. But it could invite some interesting, unwelcoming conversations. I hear from some of the daters when I give out that kind of coaching, like, oh, but that's me. I really want to represent like who I truly am. What do you say to that, like to those of us who are like, well, that is a real me, so I should just include it?
I get that kind of pushback from my clients all the time. So I definitely understand what you're saying. And I'm never here to tell anybody not to be their true selves, but that picture doesn't make or break your personality. And that's what I tell them. Like they will later see that you're goofy and bubbly and fun when you're having a telephone conversation or FaceTime. But on the other side of the coin, you're going to be upset when people use, say innuendo to you in the first message based on that photo. And unfortunately, people will do that. And so people are like, well, I want to wear my sexy outfit in my picture. I'm like, that's fine. But you have to understand that people are making that snap judgment and deciding, oh, well, if she wore that, she wants me to say this. If she has this picture, she's okay with me saying that. And unfortunately, that's just how it is. And so I say, like, put your pride aside. You can still show your real self while taking, advice that, studies have proven will work.
Right. And of course, ultimately, it's up to the clients to choose what photos that they want to present. But I think it's important to have the facts straight as to what could actually happen. And I just really go back to this snap judgment. You're not there to actually explain. And when you are having conversation on a date or phone conversation or whatever, when there's an interaction and there to kind of explain and respond to situations, I think that's probably a much better opportunity to show your true self versus in the images where it is very easy to make snap judgment.
Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome tips. What about her profile details?
All right. So let's see. I am outgoing, boisterous, active, fun-loving, and put my friends, family, and pup above most. I love that. I think putting boisterous is a very unique choice of words, right? So that already paints a very clear picture of probably her personality. So she doesn't even need that other picture. Like that word describes her right there. And I like that she threw her dog in and also mentioned that family, is important to her, which a lot of people have that question, like, does family matter to you? Because it matters to me. And I want that in a potential match. So
I
I
love
think
that as
that
well.
yeah, I think that that's pretty good. I like, and then she put love skiing, which goes along with her pictures, hiking, playing hockey, watching hockey, playing soccer, basically be active every day, cooking and eating, being silly and laughing. Okay. So I like that she was specific about the fact that she skis and watches and plays hockey and soccer. She threw in hiking, which, hiking has that kind of connotation right now that everybody puts that they like to hike on their profile, even though they don't. However, since she does all this other stuff, she probably is like a real hiker. So, and she's like to be active every day. That's great. The fact that she likes to cook, I think that's also great. I mean, everybody likes to eat because we're all humans, but if you want to leave it there, she was also specific enough that I'm not mad about it. But then being silly and laughing, everybody likes to laugh. Like, by definition, laughing is like an expression of joy. So most people like want to be happy. I think that part isn't necessary. But again, since she was specific towards the beginning, I wouldn't tell her, like, I wouldn't say you absolutely need to take it off, but I would say like, is that like the best? Like maybe she could say being silly and laughing at, and then maybe she could put like a very specific type of joke that she likes or a show that she, something, the kind of humor she likes. Like I like British humor or, something like that.
Right.
Okay, so let's see. I appreciate when my date makes me laugh. My family and friends all say I have a great one. That's cute. Listens and tells interesting stories, challenges me, and takes me on new adventures outside of my comfort zone. So I love that she mentioned that her friends and family say she has a great laugh, because that means that she's somebody who really gets into her laughing. And I think that probably is a great laugh, that the kind of laugh that makes you want to laugh too. So I think that's kind of an intriguing thing to say. Listens and tells interesting stories. I think that means she wants somebody who's an effective communicator and who knows how to have great conversation. And then I really like that she said she wants somebody who challenges her to go outside of her comfort zone. I think that was a great line. I think I would skip the part about taking me on new adventures, because I think going on adventures is another one of those overused dating app phrases, because they're like, and I saw this joke the other day and it was like, people say they want to go on an adventure, but then they're like, hey, want to get ice cream at 2 a.m. Like that's not exactly an adventure. It's just eating ice cream late, so I think that that's like, like that's a bit overused. But I think she did pretty good with these first couple prompts for sure. All right, let's see. You're having a great first date when at the end of the night, you don't realize that hours have passed. I think that's great. I mean, it's definitely very, very basic, but we've all been on that date where we're like, oh my gosh, we've been here for 5 hours, or started at drinks, went to dinner, went to a nightcap. And, those are always those dates that we can't stop thinking about. And we all want that date, right? So I think that that's okay. My perfect Sunday morning. Powder morning, love that, very specific, followed by a kick a brunch, love that, walk in the woods with my pup, afternoon nap on the couch, followed by some drop-in hockey and a dinner and a beer, nice and full. That was very specific. It painted a picture of a really cool Sunday, and I think that that's a great response.
I agree. And I love that. I mean, I was thinking about the tip that you mentioned earlier about like, okay, if your profile details can describe your sister, brother, cousin, and whatever, and just like apply just as well, then that's too generic, right? And so thinking about that, like the My Perfect Sunday Morning example here, I mean, I think she did a really, really great job kind of portraying her unique traits.
Yes, exactly. Like even just saying nap on the couch, like we all might like a Sunday nap, but saying it's on the couch, like that's a very specific nap, I love it. I love what she wrote here.
Awesome. Great. Great job, Andrea. I would date her for sure.
Same. Maybe she can help me get back into skiing.
All right. So next up is Edgar.
All right, Edgar. Okay, he's got a lot of photos, which I love.
Is there such thing as too many photos, by the way?
I really think 5 to 6 photos is a great amount, because after that, I mean, nothing's really different about them. You're just in different locations.
Right. It doesn't add much.
No, it doesn't add anything. So just kind of like, okay, you take a lot of pics. Okay, so Edgar, so his first photo is him upside down flying a plane, which is super cool. That's a super cool photo, but I'm sorry, Edgar, I don't think that that should be your first photo. So my recommendation would be that he use the next photo where it's the headshot. He's got his tie on and his jacket, or even the next one after that, where he's kind of standing on a bridge, like over some water, but you can still, see his face decently. And then I would save the upside down airplane photo, for the second photo. Because I mean, that is really cool. Now, some would argue that that's a photo that's going to make you stop and look. So there is that potential to work with. And so one of the things I do recommend sometimes is to rotate your photos. So see which first photo is giving you the most traction. So if Edgar feels like, well, people always comment on this photo, then you know what? Edgar knows best that he should keep that as his first photo. And you can play around with different looks, different photos, and see which photo gives your profile, the most responses. And when you are rotating profiles, leave each photo at least, rotating photos rather, leave each photo up for at least like 7 days so you can really see if your response rate has changed or not. So we've got the upside down photo, we have the suit and tie photo, which I love. I'm a sucker for a man in a suit, so that's just me personally. He has his photo in front of the water. I like that photo as well. And then we see that he's standing in front of a small plane. So that shows more about like his interest, possibly his career. And then let's see, the next photo is kind of a far away shot, but he's kind of in some beautiful scenery, some trees and some foliage here. So that could be a conversation starter, but would definitely leave that towards the end just because it's so far away. But it is nice that he's got two full bodies and one, 3/4 body shot. So I think that that's really great and important. The next photo is him, Edgar, in front of another plane with a helmet on. It's not really the most flattering photo. And unless you know a lot about planes, I don't know that this picture is going to add anything that the other plane photos didn't already add. Because I mean, maybe this is like a special plane or something like that, but most people probably won't know that. And then the next one is another clear headshot with him. I think he's on a plane or a train or something like that. So that's a good photo. Another way that we can see his face, since in some of the other ones it's further away or he's got his flight glasses on. And then the last one is him again in the cockpit of a plane. So I think that, his photos are good. It definitely shows that we need to see what he's doing in aviation because that's definitely a part of his life. I think that I would probably tell him he doesn't need all of these plane photos because it's, like I said, it's not really adding at a certain point. Like the upside down one's super cool. And then the ones of him standing full body in front of a plane, I think those two are probably enough. And then with his other added photos shows him in different clothes and different locations. So he'll really have plenty to work with.
Right. Cool. All right. So let's move on to what he wrote.
All right. I am an aerobatic pilot. Okay, there we go.
Right.
Concert ensemble musician. I live my life in the sky, one beat at a time. Okay, this is fantastic.
I love that.
Yeah, he did a play on words. Like he put both. Oh my gosh, like that is spot on. I wish that honestly, that's like, I wish I had those two things so that I could steal this line for my own profile. This is beautiful. So I'm not even going to say anything. That is so unique. It paints a clear picture of him, his interests, his career. And I really like that.
Yeah. Wow. This is really, really good. And I almost wish that he included, he's a concert ensemble musician, like in addition to the, maybe cut out the pilot photos or the plane photos a little bit and then add the, whatever he's playing with his instrument. That would be good, right?
Yes, I think it would be great to see him with his instrument or, playing something like that. That would be really great. So that's a great tip. And then, okay, so the next thing, I like getting lost in reality, exploring the world one day and one country at a time. Okay, that, I mean, is fairly vague. So I would say, if I was going to say that, then after I would put the last country I visited was X, or the next place on my list is this. And then that makes it more specific and unique to him because, a lot of people are into traveling, travel often, want to travel. So make it a bit more specific. So then a viewer can say, oh, wow, like you want to go to Prague? Me too. Like why do you want to go there? And then he could say why he wants to go. They could say why they want to go. And that's a conversation. We've already got it going and a shared interest. Okay. I appreciate when my date can make me smile. Simple love, happy life. Okay. I mean, that's also not very unique. I think like simple love, happy life, that's okay, but can make me smile. I mean, we all want to smile and people to make us smile. So I would try to be more specific there. What else do you appreciate about a date? Can make me smile so hard, that my cheeks hurt the next day. Something just a bit more unique, a bit more in depth. Is what I would be looking for there, because that one can really just be so vague. I mean, I feel like that's like an answer I see on every profile, and we don't want that. We want our profile to be, more unique to us.
What are some unique ones that you've not that we're going to copy, but just kind of
mm-hmm.
as a thought starter? What are some unique ones you've seen when it comes to prompt like this one?
I can appreciate when my date. I've seen, I appreciate when my date. I mean, a lot of them I feel have to do with smiling and laughing and things like that, like make me laugh so hard that milk comes out of my nose. Now, granted, you probably don't want to visualize that, but it also is like a kind of endearing thing to say. And then I might say, well, what would make you laugh so hard that milk would come out of your nose? Just something that gives you a little more. Or,
I'm thinking, I'm visualizing.
Yeah, now I'm visualizing it. Now, not to say, whatever. I mean, it's like most likely that's not going to happen, but like I want to think like, oh, you want to like really crack up. Or I appreciate when my date has a unique suggestion for what to do after dinner, something like that, to say like, hey, if this is going well, like I know like a great little dive bar we can, go to, if this weren't, COVID. So, there's those little things that can just add a little something extra to that line versus just like, I appreciate when my date listens or pays attention or makes me smile. Or I've seen like women put like, I appreciate when my date picks up the bill. I'm like, okay, but like, that's not what we're looking for here. We're trying to like build connection. And so I think just any point where we can get a bit more specific is always good.
Right. I remember I put, what do you think about this for my own profile? I appreciate when my date is willing to go on I think I said something like willing to go on like a fun first date that's not a coffee date. What do you think about that?
I love that, because a lot of people are not open to like different types of dates. And like I remember one time I went on a date to play miniature golf, and my friends are like, ew, miniature golf, like what kind of date? And I was like, well, it was fun because we weren't just sitting there staring at each other. We got to be competitive, and I got to see like, how does he react if I start to win, or is he nice to me if I'm really losing? I mean, we got to actually learn a lot more about each other, and it was, it was fun. And then afterwards, we went and like had a coffee and a little snack, and it was really sweet. But I think it's nice to say that you are open to unique dates, even if they are very simple, like miniature golf.
Yeah, and I think what's good about what's like thing to think about is like, if everyone kind of like what you said, it's if it's something that everyone is going to say, then that doesn't say much, right? And if it's actually something that may turn away some people, that's actually good, because type of people you're looking for is going to actually be more drawn to it. So I think that's
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, let's continue.
All right. In a partner, I'm looking for a best friend I can share my life with, a confidant that is also my partner in crime. All right. So while this is an extremely, generic couple of phrases that many people say, what I will say on the plus side is that to me, that says he is looking for a partnership. He's looking to build a relationship. He's not just looking probably for casual dating, because your casual date is not your confidant, your best friend, and your partner in crime. So I like that he put that out there. Of course, I wish it were a bit more specific. Like a best friend who shares my interests in wanting to travel the world and listen to classical music in Australia. I don't know, something like that. Right. But at least he is specific. I am looking for a partner, and we will build a life together. And I like that. And let's see, what makes a relationship successful? Respect, understanding, loyalty, love, and compassion. Again, I think that's what most people would say. And so here I would be looking for something like a bit more specific. Like you said, maybe even something that turns people away. Like what makes a relationship successful? Knowing when it's your turn to wash the dishes, or knowing when it's your turn to even pick up the tab. I mean, something specific where I might see like, oh, well, I never want to pick up the tab. So, I'm not going to match him. Or someone like, oh, okay. Like he's being open. Like that's something he's expecting in a potential relationship. Because we're not talking about a first date here. We're talking about the full relationship. So we can be a bit more candid about some of those other things that we're looking for.
Right, right. Great tips. All right, so the third, our CMB dater requested to be anonymous, so we don't have her name here. What do you think about her photos?
All right, Miss Anonymous. First of all, love her smile. She is smiling in every photo, and I really love that. So I'm gonna just start with that. Now, I'm seeing two sunglasses photos, one of which is the first photo. So I do not approve of that, of course, because we want to see your eyes, we want to see your whole face. That's another thing I've been seeing a lot of is people wearing their masks in their first photo. Like, and I'm like, okay, yes, we appreciate that you wear your mask, but we don't need to see that in your photo. So anyhow, so I would definitely change that. She's got, let's see, which one would I change it to? I would probably change it to her fourth photo. It's kind of a bit further away. It's a full body shot, but she's got a great smile. She has on a cute outfit. She's definitely somewhere scenic. And I think it's a great representation of her whole self. So I would put that first. And then I would choose one sunglass photo. And so I would probably use the picture that she has as her number one photo. I would keep that as my last photo because it's really cute. And her smile is amazing. I just, the sunglass photo needs to be saved for last. And then after that, she's got a picture at the beach, which I love. It shows, she likes to go to the beach and things. Now, it is clearly a cropped, a cutoff photo with somebody else, which isn't always my favorite photo to use. However, we did mention that sometimes people have a limited photos and things like that. And this is really cute. The sun is beaming on the side of her face and stuff. And I mean, it's a beautiful photo. So I would definitely switch it to be the second to last photo. And then that brings me to the next photo where it looks like she's holding up, I think that's maybe a menu, or maybe she's painting something. I'm not sure what that is, but because when I saw it in prep, I thought it was painting, but now I'm like, no, it's painting. It's painting, right? Is it painting?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I like this photo because it's showing her doing an activity that she either enjoys or something new that she tried. Either way, somebody can be like, oh, I see that you were painting there. Do you paint often? Or how was that experience? Maybe she was at one of those wine and paint nights and she can say, I really love these. Maybe we could do that together sometime. I mean, I don't know. So those are kind of some of the adjustments that I would make to these photos.
Great. So on point. Okay. So what about what she wrote?
All right, let's get into it. The most important traits in a partner: kindness, compassion, empathy, humor, and willingness to share dessert. All right, so of course, most of these are things that many people would say, similar, to the other profile that we saw. But the willingness to share dessert, I love that. I think that's cute. It's unique. A more unique thing to say, shows that, first of all, if we go to dinner, like sometimes I'm going to want to have dessert. So like, know that. And then we can share it. And like, it'll be like such a cute little thing. And then maybe someone could say, what's your favorite dessert? I mean, what an easy conversation starter. Right. So I love that she put that out there. And I think it's okay that she shared the traits that she looks for in a partner, even though they are common traits. I mean, the traits we all use to describe people are all going to be common. And the fact that she said like compassion and empathy, I think those two are, a little bit more unique. And it shows that she's really looking for someone who understands others and who can step outside themselves. And so I think that that's fine.
Right.
Okay. My ideal date, April 25th, because it's not too hot and not too cold. All you need is a light jacket. I thought that was adorable. I think it's funny. It shows her sense of humor. And then if you don't like that, then well, I probably don't like her sense of humor. But if you do, then that's hilarious to me. If I saw that on her profile, I'd be like, you're so funny. And that's true. April 25th is a great day. It's not too hot. It's not too cold.
I love that also.
I thought that was a really fun, cute thing to put. Yeah, I really liked that. Okay, a book everyone should read, The Alchemist, because it taught me that you need to embrace your own journey and to always keep getting back up. So I really like this. I like that she had a book to recommend, because I feel like these days a lot of people do not. And I think The Alchemist is a book a lot of people are vaguely at least familiar with. So that's cool. But then it also talks about how it taught you to follow your journey and always keep getting back up, which I think is an amazing trait. It shows that she's probably a very resilient person.
Right.
And I think that does show something about her that someone could talk about.
Yeah, I personally love this. And this is the type of impact that you want to have to whoever is viewing your profile. Because I am also a big fan of The Alchemist. So when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, I have to talk to her.
Yes.
And that's what specific like sharing specific choice of, like, instead of saying reading, actually mentioning the book that you like would do to whoever is viewing your profile. Like, the people who have common interests as you will be like super psyched, versus if we keep it generic, they don't really have anything to react to.
Exactly. And for those of us who are readers, like you said, I'm like, wow, you have a specific book and you know about it. And it's not, just saying like, like the 5 functions of a team or whatever. I'm like, is that really your favorite book? Like, is it? Okay.
Well, that is one of my favorite book, I have to say. And it's like a Bible at Coffee Meets Bagel. So
yes, it's a Bible in many places, but I'm like, but
right. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Okay. What's your love language? Okay. Cooking or baking desserts for others. I make a delicious mac and cheese. So I could go 2 ways with this, right? I love that she said something that she likes to do and how she expresses her love. She likes to make mac and cheese. Now, of course, for somebody who wants to be particular and say that she didn't actually say one of the, traditional love languages first, like she could have said like acts of service, right? Like, I express my love in acts of service. Through cooking and baking desserts, so someone could get technical about that. But then, of course, the person who's getting technical may not be the match for her. So I think that that's okay. And then I would definitely be like, hey, I want to know your mac and cheese recipe because I happen to think mine's pretty good. So maybe we have a mac and cheese, cook off. So I think that would be, a good way to start the conversation. And then favorite weird food combination: French fries and vanilla ice cream, a perfect combination of salty and sweet, chef's kiss. I like this, but I think that that's almost a normal food combination. Like everybody. Oh, it's not? Okay. Well, I think a lot of people do this. Okay. Well, you need to try it. So I will, I'll take another pass through 5 functions of a team, and then you go try this and we'll compare notes. But
love it.
It is delicious. So, I mean, that's cute. And it shows, again, like she already talked about desserts and things like that and baking, ice cream and French fries. So like she's probably into food and different things. So it's a good way to get the conversation going, because someone could either say, I love that too, like what I just said, or like what you said, I've never tried that before. Like, tell me more. Like, they're intrigued. So either way, the conversation's moving where we want it to go.
Yeah. That you definitely had that impact on me. Oh yeah, I got to try it. And I want to ask her about it. So that was great. Thank you.
Yeah. She did a great job with what she wrote.
Yeah. I loved it. Okay. So our last CMB dater is Samian. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right. So he had one photo.
Samian. Yes. So first, one photo almost always screams catfish, right? So that's problematic. And it's like, honestly, if you really think to yourself, you only have one decent photo to use, I would at that point rather probably that you at least put a couple older photos on there, just so I like know that you might be real. I don't know. But so, and like I said, we all have access to cameras and phones and things like that. So just take a few. So that's the one thing. He definitely needs more photos. And then also he's got his mask, around his chin in the photo, which, since that's his only photo, that's, a bit troubling. I just don't think it's flattering. I don't think he's really showing his best self. He's, has giant headphones on as well. And so I think that, especially since he wants to stand on one photo, it needs to be like the photo. And in my opinion, like this probably isn't it.
Yeah. And, when I come across profile with like one photo like this, I just get so sad because he has such a handsome face. And I just think like the photo just is not doing justice. And so Samian, I really,
at all.
Right. So I really hope that you use your, at least a timer to, position yourself in interesting, good angle. So we can have a full, clear, smiling picture, face of you without the mask and without the headphone.
Exactly, because you see that photo and you made a good point. He's very handsome. Like that's not to be doubted. But then you're in that space where if you do match, of course you want to see more photos before meeting, but then you also don't want to be the like, can I have a pic person? So then you might just pass on it because you don't want to have to go through that negotiation where they're like, oh, all you care about is photos. And I'm like, well, you're a stranger, so I want to see more than one, and it can become, a bit awkward. So I would definitely hope that he can put a few more on there.
Great.
Okay, so I cannot see. Okay, sorry, I just had to move myself over a little bit. Okay. I am Squidward on the outside, Patrick on the inside. I'm also pretty sure I can't rent a vehicle from Enterprise again after I flooded a Dodge Ram 1500 during Harvey. Also, I am pretty sure I'm brown. Okay, so I'm laughing, which is like a great sign. Like however, he clearly has a very specific sense of humor and a very specific personality. So, and I think that's great. And he showed it through words, right?
Right.
So it's definitely unique. It definitely makes me look twice. And it definitely lets me know that he's somebody who is going to make me laugh.
Right.
Me personally, because that was hilarious. I mean, and it painted a perfect picture of like this person. So I'm not even mad about it. What do you think about that one?
Honestly, I didn't get some of the references that he's making, but it's still really great because I can tell he's a specific personality type.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then that's what, it's like, if you got the jokes, then like, okay. And then if you didn't, you're like, that's specific, but I want to know more. Or you're like, that's kind of weird and I don't want to know more. Either way, he's helping us learn more about him very quickly.
Right.
Okay. I like reading psychiatry. I graduate school in August 2021. And yes, the subject matter is interesting. I like exercising at Planet Fitness because, as my photo will tell you, I don't have the genes for Ironman, CrossFit, etc. And I like Duolingo. Been doing it for about 700 days now, and I still have the Italian comprehension of a Florentine 4-year-old. Okay. Yeah, this this profile is funny. So
I love that.
I do too. So I love that he lets us know that he's he reads about psychiatry. He's about to get a degree with a lot of letters. And so that's, that's interesting. And that's something that you could talk about, especially if you're interested in psychiatry or just want to know more about his career, or maybe that's your career. Cool. He mentions that he likes to work out and mentions like, yeah, I like to work out, but clearly like I'm not maybe a fitness freak. Now, I like that he said, as my photo will tell you, because I'm like, well, our photo doesn't actually tell you that, but maybe he was planning on putting more up where we can see, that his supposed genes are not good for Ironman. I don't know.
I like the self-deprecating aspect of this. I mean, it's funny and it's endearing.
Funny.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's endearing. It shows that he's probably going to be very approachable and fun. And I love what he said about Duolingo. He said, I've been doing it for 700 days now and still have the Italian comprehension of a Florentine 4-year-old. So although he can only speak to the level 4-year-old, he is trying to learn Italian, and that's something cool to discuss.
Right.
And I love how he wrote that. I thought that was so funny. I really Samian, honestly, even though he has the one picture, if I was reading all the stuff on his profile, I would be tempted to match and just see if we could, because it's hilarious. It's awesome. He really, is able to express himself in words, and a lot of people can't do that.
Right.
Okay, I appreciate when my date is at ease and doesn't take herself too seriously. People fill their minds up with too much stress and anxiety as it is, and honest to Christmas, it's very nice to just listen to you open up and be real. Okay, so the one comment I'm definitely going to make is one thing I really don't recommend is putting like, I'm looking for somebody who doesn't take themselves too seriously, or I don't take myself too seriously, because we all have different understandings of what that actually means. Like, while I am a fun, vibrant, bubbly person, but I also do take aspects of my life seriously, and I'm also driven and, ambitious and whatever. And I think that sometimes people have different meanings to what they mean by that. So I think they mean like somebody who's not super, pretentious and like up in arms and guarded. Like, I think that that's maybe what they're going for. Somebody who knows how to relax and have fun. But when I read that, it makes me feel a little bit like, like he might think I take myself seriously, because I don't know what level he means. I think that's something to talk about later. And that's something you'll really learn as you get to know somebody. You'll learn their personality and whether they're uptight or not. Because I think that that's really more so what people are trying to get at with that. But I don't really recommend writing that in profile, because I think it can just make people feel a little bit weird. And then I like how he acknowledges that people are very stressed and anxious these days, and we have a lot to worry about. So let's just chat, have a conversation, relax, laugh at all his hilarious jokes. And it seems like he would be somebody super fun to get to know.
Yeah, and he's obviously being really real himself on this
Mm-hmm.
profile, which is really awesome.
Yep.
And yeah, because who doesn't want to be real and just open up, right?
Yeah. And he feels
Yeah,
very authentic.
right. Yeah, and I thanks for pointing out about the way different people could interpret the phrase "doesn't take herself too seriously." And
Yeah.
I'm sure Samuel didn't mean it that way, probably, but like,
Probably.
it could. It's good to know how it could come across.
Right.
Uh,
Exactly.
yeah, and one thing that I'm noting is like, and I really want to point out for the listener is that like, as you can see, like all the type of profiles have different nuances, and sometimes I come across, CME daters who are like, okay, I'm not funny, so like I have to be like, I have to, they have all this pressure to write something funny, kind of like what Samian has here, but not all of us have this kind of sense of humor or have really, really can articulate humor in a way that Samian does. And that's okay. That's okay. I don't think we need to feel pressure to be a certain way because we think that's what's going to get us the most likes. We really want to just portray ourselves. And I think when it, Alexis, when it, like what you mentioned about like just be, add something personal so that your profile isn't going to representation of like 100 other people by
Mm-hmm.
adding something unique about yourself. Like it doesn't have to be like the most unique thing like that no one has ever done, right?
Right.
um
Yeah.
yeah, and so I just want to make sure that like people don't feel so pressured to be a certain way. Everybody's different, and everyone also responds to different profiles differently. Not
Mm-hmm.
everyone's going to like Samian's profile.
Oh, absolutely. No, I absolutely know everybody won't. And that's a great point that you made is the pressure that people put on themselves. And that's why they end up leaving their profile blank. Like
Right.
every profile isn't going to be hilarious or profound or deep or, whatever. It's just like just get enough on there to invite conversation. That's what we're trying to do here. We can't learn everything from each other in these photos and a few prompts. What we're trying to do is make it easy enough to start a conversation that can go just beyond how you doing today, what you doing, like we want to
Right.
say like, oh, what's Duolingo if I've never heard of it, like even something that small. You don't have to be funny, but you could have been using Duolingo. Like list what your favorite app is, like anything that makes somebody want to talk with you is really what we're trying to do here.
Exactly. All right. Thank you so much, Alexis. This was really fun.